For most life on Earth, this is everything. A world powered by a star, our sun. We see it in the vibrant dance of a coral reef, in the shimmering scales of a million schooling fish, in the powerful breach of a humpback whale. This is a kingdom of light, color, and energy, a world we think we know. But this brilliant, sun-drenched reality is just a fragile ceiling. It's a thin, shimmering layer floating on top of a realm of unimaginable size, depth, and mystery. 99% of the living space on our planet exists below the surface, in a place the sun has never, ever touched. What secrets are being kept in that overwhelming darkness? So let's begin a journey, a descent. The bright turquoise of the surface gives way, deepening to a rich sapphire, then a dark, bottomless navy. The sun, once a brilliant orb, shrinks to a distant, shimmering coin, its power fading with every meter we fall. This is the twilight zone, the mesopelagic. Here, the last dying whispers of sunlight create a world of fleeting shadows and haunting silhouettes. Life here is already becoming alien, adapting in ways that seem born from a nightmare. Creatures emerge with impossibly large eyes to catch the final photons, or with bodies made of transparent jelly, becoming living ghosts in the dimming light. But this is just a hallway. We are not just going deeper. We are traveling to a place governed by rules we are only beginning to comprehend. And then, nothing. The last photon is gone, swallowed by the immense pressure and distance. We have fallen past 1,000 meters. Welcome to the midnight zone. Here, the darkness is absolute. It is a physical presence, a thick, inky blanket that seems to absorb all light, all sound, all warmth. The pressure is crushing, over 100 times what we experience at the surface, an incomprehensible weight that would pulverize steel. The cold is a deep, penetrating force, forever hovering just above freezing. For centuries, we imagined this place as a dead void, a lifeless desert beneath the waves. We could not have been more wrong. This isn't emptiness. It's a kingdom. What could possibly live in a world without light or plants to form the first link in the food chain? The answer is falling all around us, a constant, silent blizzard that never melts. Scientists call it marine snow, but there is nothing pure or gentle about this storm. It is a ghostly, unending rain of organic debris from the world of light far above. The microscopic skeletons of dead plankton, discarded fish scales, the waste of countless organisms, and the occasional waterlogged corpse. This slow-motion, macabre buffet is the foundation of the abyss, an entire ecosystem built on the leftovers and the dead. Life here begins with a funeral procession from a world its inhabitants will never see. Imagine floating in this infinite blackness. There is no up, no down, just the gut-wrenching sensation of a slow, eternal fall. The sheer scale is something the human mind struggles to grasp. This single biome, this realm of perpetual night, is the largest, most voluminous habitat on our planet, yet we have explored less of it than we have the surface of the moon. We spend billions sending our probes and our hopes out into the blackness of space, searching for alien life. But what if the most profoundly alien world we could ever encounter has been here all along, patiently waiting in the dark? What happens when you fall so far that the only way is down, into a primordial abyss that has reigned for millions of years? This isn't a fall into a void. It is a fall into a different reality. The true horror of the deep is not that it is empty, but that it is full. It is teeming with things we were never meant to see, entities that have evolved for an existence so radically different from our own, it might as well be another dimension. And this darkness is not silent. It is filled with unseen clicks, strange pulses, and sudden, cold flashes of biological light, the cryptic language of the abyss. Our fall is almost over, but we are not arriving at a bottom, in any sense we understand. We are arriving at the gates of a world that does not need our sun, a place powered by a far more ancient and terrifying force, the fiery, molten heart of the earth itself. And its inhabitants are waiting. Our descent is finally over. We've settled onto the abyssal plain, a seafloor of fine, ancient sediment, 2.5 kilometers down. The darkness is total, the pressure is immense, and the silence is absolute. But then, a flicker, a faint, distant shimmering in the gloom, a distortion in the water. It's not the biological flash of a creature, not a lure or a defense. This is different. It's a steady, ethereal glow, like a city seen through a thick fog on a moonless night. What could possibly be burning in a world without oxygen, in a place without fuel? As we draw closer, the water around us begins to warm, a gentle, impossible heat rising from the seafloor, and the ghostly mirage sharpens into something solid, something monumental. We have arrived at a place that should not exist. Before us rises a forest of geological spires, some towering dozens of meters high like drowned, blackened cathedrals. From their peaks, thick plumes of what looks like black smoke billow out, churning into the freezing water. But it isn't smoke. It is a blast of superheated fluid, over 400 degrees Celsius, supercharged with dissolved minerals from deep within the Earth's crust. This is a hydrothermal vent field, a black smoker. It's a direct, violent connection between the ocean and the planet's molten heart, a gaping wound in the skin of the Earth, bleeding fire and brimstone into the abyss. And it is crawling with life. For us, this water would be an instant death sentence, hot enough to melt lead, and laced with hydrogen sulfide, a gas lethally toxic to almost all surface life. But here, that poison is the source of all vitality. This is an ecosystem that has thrown out the rulebook. It doesn't run on photosynthesis. It runs on chemosynthesis. Instead of a sun in the sky, life here worships the heat and chemistry of the planet itself. Tiny, ancient bacteria have mastered the art of converting this toxic chemical brew into energy, and in doing so, they have become the sun for a world of total darkness. They are the foundation for a biological miracle. Clinging to the sides of these roaring chimneys are the system's most iconic inhabitants, giant tube worms, some over 2 meters long. They are a biological enigma. They have no mouth, no stomach, no digestive tract at all. They are merely a soft, fleshy body inside a tough, protective tube, crowned with a single, magnificent, blood-red plume. This plume isn't for breathing oxygen in the way we do. It's for absorbing the vent's chemical cocktail and delivering it to a vast colony of symbiotic bacteria living deep inside the worm's body. The bacteria create food, feeding themselves and their host. The worm is not an animal in the traditional sense. It's a living apartment building for a city of chemical-eating microbes. The entire landscape is a bustling, alien metropolis. Ghostly white crabs, completely blind, scuttle across the rocks in dense hordes, their shells appearing pale and spectral against the black spires. They navigate not by sight, but by sensing the temperature and chemical gradients in the water. Vast beds of mussels, their shells stained black by the mineral fallout, carpet every available surface, filtering the water for the precious bacteria that sustain them. Eelpout fish, pale and elongated, weave between the structures, preying on smaller inhabitants. It's a complete, complex, and crowded world, a true oasis of life thriving on conditions that would be the definition of hell for us. The discovery of these vent systems in 1977 utterly shattered our understanding of where life could exist. It was the biological equivalent of discovering a new law of physics. Life, it turned out, was not a slave to the sun. It was a tenacious, opportunistic force capable of building entire civilizations on the edge of a volcano, powered by poison. It proved that in the most hostile corners of our own world, life doesn't just survive. It builds empires. But these oases of fire and chemistry are rare, separated by vast, cold, dark deserts of mud. So if this is what life can achieve when it gathers around a heat source, what has it learned to conquer in the crushing, empty darkness between? Leaving the warmth of the vents behind, we drift back out into the open, crushing blackness of the midnight zone. Here there are no landmarks, no ground, no sky. It is a world of pure, three-dimensional space, governed by two simple, brutal rules. Find something to eat and avoid being eaten. In a world with no light to see and nowhere to hide, how is that even possible? The answer is that life has become a master of illusion and ambush. The monsters of our collective nightmares are not just real. They are the undisputed rulers of this realm, the architects of darkness. And they have been waiting. First, a single, delicate point of light materializes in the distance. It drifts lazily, pulsing softly, an impossible star in the starless deep. It seems gentle, inviting, a beacon of hope in the oppressive emptiness. But this is no star. It is a lie. As we get closer, we see that the light dangles from a fleshy, rod-like appendage, and below it, a shape begins to resolve from the darkness. A mouth impossibly wide and filled with long, needle-sharp, inward-curving teeth. This is the anglerfish, a creature whose very existence is a masterclass in predatory deception. The light is a lure, a biological fishing rod, designed to draw in smaller, curious fish, who only realize their fatal mistake in the instant before the gaping maw snaps shut around them. But the anglerfish's horror is not just in its hunt. For many species, the male is a tiny, pathetic fraction of the female's size. His sole purpose in life is to find a female in the vast darkness. Once he does, he bites onto her body and his own begins to dissolve. His jaw fuses to her skin, his organs wither away, and his circulatory system merges with hers. He becomes little more than a parasitic appendage, a permanent, attached sperm bank, nourishing himself from her blood while providing the one thing she needs to reproduce in this lonely world. It is a level of biological commitment that is both fascinating and deeply unsettling, a testament to the extreme lengths life will go to in order to continue. Not all deep-sea horrors are predators. Some are masters of defense. Meet Vampiroteuthis infernalis, whose name literally translates to the vampire squid from hell. It's a terrifying name for a creature that looks the part, with deep black skin, ghostly blue eyes, and a cloak of webbing between its arms. But it's no vampire. It doesn't hunt or drink blood. Instead, it is a scavenger, feeding on the falling marine snow. Its true genius lies in its response to a threat. When startled, it doesn't flee. It pulls its webbed arms up and over its body, turning itself completely inside out. This pineapple defense exposes rows of fleshy, spine-like projections called cirri, transforming it from a soft squid into a spiky, unappetizing ball. It is an act of pure, theatrical defiance. Then there are the living fossils, creatures whose designs are so ancient and effective they have barely changed in millions of years. Cruising slowly through the abyss is the goblin shark, a flabby, pinkish-white ghost that seems almost sluggish and unimpressive. But when it detects the faint electrical field of its prey, a fish, a squid, another shark, it reveals its horrifying secret. Its entire jaw is attached to elastic ligaments, and it can launch its mouth forward at over 3 meters per second, turning its face into a biological slingshot to snatch its victim. The jaw extends, the teeth snag the meal, and the whole apparatus retracts. It is a sudden, shocking explosion of violence from a creature that looked half asleep, a predatory mechanism perfected long before the dinosaurs walked the earth. The anglerfish, the vampire squid, the goblin shark. We call them monsters, but that's our own prejudice talking. They are not evil or malicious. They are perfect. They are the flawless products of millions of years of evolution in the most competitive and unforgiving environment on our planet. Each strange and terrifying feature, a glowing lure, an inverting body, a projectile jaw, is a hard-won victory in the eternal war for survival. They are the ancient, established nobility of this dark kingdom. Their system works. But what happens when that stable, ancient system is suddenly and violently disrupted by a gift from a world they could never imagine? The world of the abyssal plain is one of profound, patient stillness. Eons of fine sediment have settled here, creating a vast, featureless desert of mud under kilometers of crushing water. The marine snow provides a constant, meager drizzle of sustenance, enough for a sparse population of slow-moving, patient life. It is a stable, predictable, and deeply ancient ecosystem. But what happens when that stability is shattered? What happens when a mountain falls from the sky? The disruption arrives not as a predator, but as a gift. A body, the corpse of a great whale, a leviathan from the sunlit world, has finished its long, silent descent and come to rest on the seafloor. This is a whale fall, It is not just a carcass. It is an event. The sudden arrival of tens of thousands of kilograms of rich, organic matter in this nutrient-starved desert is the equivalent of 1,000,000 years' worth of marine snow arriving all at once. The impact sends a shockwave through the local ecosystem, a chemical dinner bell that rings out for kilometers in every direction. And from the darkness, the first wave of guests arrives. These are the mobile scavengers. Huge, slow-moving sleeper sharks, with ancient, milky eyes, materialize from the gloom, their powerful jaws tearing away massive chunks of blubber. Writhing hordes of slimy, eel-like hagfish, the vultures of the deep, burrow into the corpse, consuming it from the inside out. This initial feeding frenzy is a brutal, chaotic affair that can last for more than a year. But it is only the first act in a long, macabre play. Once the soft tissue is gone and the larger scavengers have moved on, the second stage begins. A new community of opportunists arrives to feast on the enriched sediment and the smaller scraps left behind. A carpet of strange worms, alien-looking crustaceans, and bizarre snails colonizes the bones and the surrounding seabed, a bustling city rising from the carnage. The skeleton, once a symbol of a great life, has become the architecture for 1,000 smaller ones. But the most extraordinary phase is yet to come, for the true treasure is locked away inside the bones themselves. Years pass. The skeleton, picked clean, now begins its own slow decay. The rich lipids and oils trapped inside the bones start to break down, releasing sulfides. A foul, chemical scent fills the water, and this poison summons the third wave of colonists. These are the chemosynthesis specialists, cousins to the life we saw at the hydrothermal vents, feasting on the chemical energy bleeding from the bones. The whale fall has become its own self-contained, sulfur-powered ecosystem. And now, the true masters of this process reveal themselves. They are the reason this stage is called the sulfophilic, or sulfur-loving stage. They are creatures so strange, they defy easy categorization. Look closer at the bones. They appear to be covered in a strange, reddish fuzz, a living lawn sprouting directly from the calcium. These are Ostax worms, a name that means bone eater in Latin. They are more colloquially known as zombie worms. They have no mouths. They have no stomachs. The feathery, flower-like plumes we see are just their gills, breathing in the dark. The real business end of the worm is hidden. They secrete a powerful acid from their skin, melting, dissolving, and drilling a hole directly into the hard bone. A network of green, root-like structures then grows deep into the bone's core, absorbing the lipids and oils within. The horror and wonder of the zombie worm runs deeper still. These visible, blooming worms are all females. Inside her protective tube, each female houses a harem of dozens of microscopic males, who are little more than swimming sacs of sperm. Their only job is to fertilize her eggs, which she then releases into the water to drift away and find another fallen giant. The whale, a single, magnificent creature of the light, has become a cradle for generations of these profoundly alien beings. This one death has created a temporary, thriving world that can last for 100 years. A complete new era of life on the ocean floor, born from a single catastrophic gift from above. We have seen the survivors, the ancient lineages, and the bizarre opportunists. But the history of life on Earth is written in cycles of catastrophe and rebirth. Our planet has endured at least 5 great mass extinctions, events so violent they wiped the slate almost clean. The deep sea, often seen as a stable refuge, is not immune. A sufficiently powerful event, a massive asteroid impact boiling the surface oceans, or a planet-wide anoxic event suffocating the water column, could bring even this ancient kingdom to its knees. The goblin sharks, the vampire squid, the tube worms, all could vanish. So, let's ask a terrifying question. With the old titans gone and the throne of the abyss left empty, what will rise from the mud and shadows to claim it? This is the realm of speculative evolution, a science-based creative exercise. We start with a plausible candidate. Remember the giant isopod? That oversized, armor-plated woodlouse of the deep, a patient scavenger content to clean up the scraps? Evolution loves a good starting model, and the isopod has a great one. It's tough, it's resilient, and it's already armored. Imagine a future millions of years from now. The old predators are gone. The most valuable resource is any large foodfall, like a whale fall. Natural selection would relentlessly favor the isopods that could dominate and defend these resources, the biggest, strongest, and most aggressive. Fast forward 10 million years, and the humble scavenger is gone. In its place crawls the Abyssal Dreadnought. It is the size of a small car, its segmented body protected by layers of overlapping, calcite-reinforced chitin, an organic suit of plate mail. Its dozen legs are no longer just for crawling. They are thick, powerful pillars that can propel its immense weight across the soft sediment or deliver crushing blows. Its forward-facing mandibles, once used for picking at scraps, have evolved into a set of shearing, hydraulic shears capable of snapping bone or punching through the shells of other armored creatures. Long, feathery antennae, meters long, trail behind it, tasting the water for the faint chemical signature of a carcass or, perhaps, of living prey. How would such a creature hunt? It would be a master of patience. We can imagine it half buried in the abyssal mud, its armored carapace indistinguishable from a rock, lying in wait for weeks, even months, for a large fish or a small deep-sea shark to pass by. It would not be a chase. It would be an instantaneous explosion from the seafloor, a lunge of crushing, irresistible force. Or perhaps it would be a slow, relentless tracker, methodically following a weaker creature for days on end, an inevitable armored death that simply cannot be escaped. In a world of fleeting shadows and soft bodies, the dreadnought would be an avatar of brute force, a walking fortress whose reign is absolute. But evolution is never limited to a single path. While a titan of armor might conquer the seafloor, what would rise in the vast, open blackness of the midwater? Let's consider a different candidate, a descendant of a deep-sea octopus or squid. These are already intelligent creatures with unparalleled camouflage. Imagine a colossal cephalopod that has fully embraced the darkness, a hunter that has traded brute force for intellect and illusion. It would be a true king of the midnight zone, a creature of pure shadow and light, a ghost whose existence is only betrayed by the sudden disappearance of its prey. Let's call it the Mesmer, a giant, perhaps 20 meters long, with skin that is not just black, but capable of absorbing nearly 100% of light, becoming a living hole in the water. Instead of using camouflage to blend in, it uses its advanced chromatophores to create complex, disorienting, and hypnotic patterns of bioluminescence. It wouldn't chase its prey. It would lure it or stun it into submission with strobing, pulsating lights before enveloping it in a silent web of tentacles. This wouldn't be just a predator. It would be a tactician. The coming age of titans in the deep might not be a single dynasty. It could be a cold war between the armored, brutish king of the floor and the intelligent, ghostly emperor of the dark water. The abyss is not a graveyard. It is a crucible, and it is always forging something new. Our journey into the speculative future, into the age of abyssal dreadnoughts and hypnotic mesmers, must come to an end. We pull back from that imaginary timeline, leaving the titans of tomorrow to their silent, theoretical war. But as we return to the present, to the deep ocean as it is right now, we should feel a new kind of chill. Those creatures were products of our imagination, but the forces that could forge them, unrelenting pressure, total darkness, the brutal cycle of extinction and opportunity, are very, very real. They are at work this very second. We have seen it. We saw it in the chemical cities built around hydrothermal vents. We saw it in the alien architecture of the anglerfish and goblin shark. We saw it in the 100-year empire built on the bones of a single dead whale. Let this sink in. The deep ocean, this realm of perpetual night, makes up over 99% of the total living volume on our planet. It is, by an enormous margin, the largest biome on Earth. And yet, we have mapped more of the surface of Mars and the Moon than we have our own planet's seafloor. We have spent decades aiming our telescopes at the cold void of space, listening for a faint, intelligent signal from a distant star, all while a world more alien than we could possibly imagine has been thriving just a few kilometers beneath our boats. We dream of alien life on other planets, but we live on a planet that is already inhabited by aliens. They are just in the basement. This unseen kingdom is not a silent, static museum of ancient life. It is an active, whispering civilization. Our most sensitive hydrophones, when lowered into the abyss, do not record silence. They record a symphony of the unknown. Strange clicks, rhythmic pulses, and low-frequency groans whose sources remain a mystery. Our deep-sea cameras capture sudden, brilliant flashes of bioluminescence, not just from predators and prey, but seemingly as a complex web of communication. A language of light spoken in the dark. We are eavesdropping on a conversation that has been going on for hundreds of millions of years, and we don't yet understand a single word. What are they saying to each other in that crushing, eternal night? The truth is, our understanding is just beginning. Every single time a deep-sea submersible or a remotely operated vehicle dives into an unexplored trench or surveys a new seamount, it is virtually guaranteed to find something new. Not just new species, though it finds those in abundance, but entirely new behaviors, new chemistries, new ecological relationships. We are still in the age of pure discovery. It is like being the first person to step into a new continent the size of all other continents combined, armed with only a single flashlight. Every direction you point, it reveals something that fundamentally changes your perception of what is possible for life. So when we talk about new eras of life on the ocean floor, we are not just talking about some distant post-human future. We are talking about right now. A whale that died yesterday in the Pacific will begin a new, century-long era for a community of zombie worms. A tectonic plate shifts, opening a new hydrothermal vent, and a new city of chemosynthetic life is founded in the dark. An invasive species, carried down on human debris, could be starting a chain reaction that will crown a new, unexpected king of the abyss in 1,000 years. The deep sea is not a static environment. It is a restless engine of evolution, constantly experimenting, creating, and destroying. We stand on the shore and look up at the stars, feeling a sense of wonder and insignificance at the vastness of the cosmos. But we should feel the exact same way when we look down at the waves. For beneath that shimmering surface is the heart of our own planet's mystery. It is a world that does not need our sun, that does not play by our rules, and whose story is far from over. For every question we answer about the deep, we uncover a dozen more that are older, stranger, and more profound. Down there, in the eternal night, new eras of life are not a possibility to be considered. They are an inevitability, unfolding right now in a kingdom we have only just begun to realize exists.